I used to live in Utah for like 3 years, about 6 years ago. And so one day I went on a little trip. It was probably like an hour away into Colorado, where supposedly the Sundance Kid hid out for a while at the Jarvie Ranch. And as I was driving in, these little baby cows were chasing me. They were so excited to see me, and they were running alongside the car. I thought it was so cute. And I've never seen cows like in the middle of the road blocking me, almost like, wait, we didn't say you could come in here. Now, most of these are just still pictures because I didn't think I was going to be making a YouTube video when I went here. This was the area all around the ranch as I was driving in, and they lived right on a river. In 1880, John Jarvie, who was a Scotsman, built a ranch along the Green River to offer store goods to those that lived or traveled in this wild territory. He chose this location due to the naturally occurring river crossing, which was used by the Indians, fur trappers, travelers, and local residents. At its height, the Jarvie Ranch operation included a store, a post office, a river ferry, and a cemetery. At the historic ranch, you'll find the Stone House, which is a one-room rectangular building built by outlaw Jack Bennett using masonry skills he learned in prison. This is also the museum where displays decorate the walls and a video of the history of the ranch can be viewed. You also get to duck inside the two-room dugout where John and his wife Nellie first lived. It is built into a hillside with a south-facing entrance overlooking the Green River. You can stroll over to the blacksmith shop and corral, which were constructed using hand-hewn railroad ties which drifted down from Green River, Wyoming during high water. And finally, you can get to pretend shop at the general store where Mr. Jarvie sold goods, which is a replica of the original, which was built in 1881. It is furnished with many artifacts from the Jarvie period and also contains the original safe, which was robbed from the men that murdered John Jarvie. Oh, see, that's what happens when you uh, help outlaws, right? Developed camping is available at Bridge Hollow or Indian Crossing campgrounds nestled along the Green River adjacent to the ranch. There you'll have several launch points for floating the Green River. If you're an angler, you don't want to miss the blue ribbon fishing opportunity from the Flaming Gorge Dam down to the Colorado state line. All campsites within the Indian Crossing and Bridge Hollow campgrounds are first come, first served. So this was something I read from their website, the John Jarvie Historic Ranch. So this is the dugout where Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid supposedly hid from the law. And I slept in this area here. I don't know what that is. Some skates for when the river froze over, maybe. And this is John Jarvie, and this is his wife, Nellie Barr. And you'll see in one of the cases showed some of her items. I'll post it here. Or Pretty Little Nell is what they called her. She married John Jarvie in 1880. I found a lot of information on the BLM Cultural Resources series, John Jarvie of Browns Park. And so I will read a little bit of it to you. From 1871 until 1913, Browns Park was known for cattle rustling and outlaw sheltering. The permanent residents in Browns Park, who were considered to be law-abiding by their peers, were nearly all cattle rustlers to some degree. Those who were not rustlers were content to allow known lawbreakers to inhabit their valley periodically. Browns Park had developed its own code of ethics. They had a Robin Hood mentality and acquired stock at the expense of the larger outfits. Consequently, approval of rustling diminished as the size of the rustlers' own herd grew. The outlaws would take from the rich, banks and railroads, and give to the poor themselves, just like the cattle rustlers. Jarvie married Nellie Barr, who emigrated from British Isles, and her family originally settled in Pennsylvania but moved west because of health reasons. The Barrs stopped in Rock Springs long enough for Nellie and Jarvie to become acquainted. They could have met in the Jarvie Saloon, where vaudeville-type entertainment was frequently provided. Pretty Little Nell may have been a singer in the vaudeville show. Minnie Krause Rasmussen recalled that Nellie had a beautiful voice and used it. Ann Bassett wrote that Browns Park settlers, Mr. Davenport, Mrs. Jarvie, and Mrs. Allen, or Elizabeth, possessed beautiful voices, and they sang many of the old heart songs. Mr. and Mrs. Jarvie were married on June 17, 1880, and moved to Browns Park, Utah, where they originally lived in the dugout, and then within a year moved to a 3-room log house. Minnie Krause Rasmussen, whose father was Charles Krause, said that the people who lived in Browns Park had many dealings with Butch Cassidy and the Wild Bunch. She said that many people were interested in that dugout, and I don't mean for anything wrong. And yet the outlaws could have, they very well could have used it. He, Jarvie, certainly saw them as much as we did. Jarvie's store was the only one within 70 miles. So they had to carry a large inventory to serve the pioneer families in the area. He sold everything from Indian flour to new saddles, boots, wagon supplies, teepee poles, and liquor. The whiskey barrels were usually kept on a raised platform alongside the counter with their spigots ready for dispensing. At other times, the spirits were kept in the basement. Minnie Krause remembers, there was kind of a basement, we'll call it, under the store where the freight was unloaded. The little barrel was there, and maybe lots of barrels. The barrels eventually created problems for Jarvie. In 1892, he was taken to court by Sheriff Pope of Vernal, Utah, on the charge of selling liquor without a license. 2 witnesses were produced who claimed to have purchased whiskey from Jarvie. The liquid was introduced as evidence, and the jury sampled the evidence and must have decided it was rot gut instead of whiskey. Anyway, they returned a verdict of not guilty. The following advertisement appeared in several issues of the Vernal Express. Reward! 100 pounds of sugar. Reward for each and every 500 pounds of oats delivered at J. Jarvie's store, Browns Park. Herbert Bassett was a man out of place in the rugged Browns Park frontier. He was an intellectual, a musical, a scholar in a place where hard labor, not mental ability, was necessary. Elizabeth, his wife, decided that if she and her children were to survive, it was entirely up to her. She was a gracious Southern belle. She stated that she would have to rustle for a living. Before long, she had a nice herd of Durham cattle. Eventually, a group of Elizabeth's followers and admirers became known as the Bassett Gang. Rustling cattle was technically a felony offense. It is not an exaggeration to say that with very few exceptions, everybody in Browns Park engaged in it. Herbert and Elizabeth's children, Josie and Anne, were given proper educations, including Miss Porter's Select Finishing School for Girls in Boston. They could ride and rope with the best cowhands, and Anne subsequently earned the title Queen of the Cattle Rustlers. I actually went to Dinosaur Mountain and I saw her house. It's still there. It's a log cabin, and she lived in Dinosaur Mountain. It's a place that's filled with a lot of history, and I took some pictures of that also, and I'll posted eventually. But I met a guy there when I was looking at the house, and he told me that he actually met her, and she lived in Vernal, Utah. He was probably like 90. Ann Bassett explained the situation to her friend Esther Campbell years later. There was a reason why the people of Browns Park were not interested in starting a row with the outlaws. In the first place, we did not know what their business really was, and we were pretty good at tending to our own affairs. They started no trouble with us, and we let them alone. The young people of each group mingled and liked each other. Anne hints at other interests, however, as she continues. And let me say, they had some cute boys with their outfit. It was a thrill to see Henry Rudenbaugh, the Sundance kid, tall, blond, and handsome. Butch divided his time between the hidden cabin and the Bassett Ranch, where he turned his attention toward Josie Bassett. It was probably to Butch's advantage that Josie did not return his affections. It would seem that Josie, Bassett, McKnight, Ranny, Williams, Wells, Morris had mighty poor luck at picking husbands and much better luck at getting rid of them. So those are all of her last names: Bassett, McKnight, Ranny, Williams, Wells, Morris. At least she didn't pick Butch Cassidy. So this is Ann Bassett, and a lot of people think that she was really at a place, but I don't know. I can see the similarities. Maybe if the one on the right was many years before. But anyway, there was a lot going on over there at Brown's Ranch. Murders and outlaws and whiskey and cattle rustling. It was quite an adventurous place in the wild, wild west. I'll talk about the murders in the next video, but this one has gotten too long.